So, for those of you who travel the Met on a regular basis, the Metropolitan, it seems to me we've been talking about tearing it down, doing something forever. Now there's a new report that apparently suggests, and they've apparently talked to people who live in the area, located near the Met, and this has been going on for a couple of years, that burying the Met might be the ideal alternative, which seems to me not a very expensive proposition. When I remember what was the story, what was the dig in Boston, which was supposed to cost, I think, a couple $1 billion, and it ended up costing $15 billion. Rick Leckner's on the line, our CJAD traffic guru here. Rick, thank you, by the way, for taking a minute. Want to talk about this because, as I said, we've been talking about the Met forever. It is a terrible highway. And I'm not sure what the solution is here. So, first of all, your reaction to this idea, and I can imagine people who live in the area think this is great. I don't have to look at it anymore. Let's stick it underground. How viable, how feasible is that?
Not much is going to change, Aaron.
Meaning?
Meaning what you see is what you're going to get, pretty much. So this report that came out, yes, it was done by, I guess, a quasi-private group. They did the survey, I think, spanning a couple of years, spoke to a lot of people, a lot of different parties, but there's some constats, comme on dit en français, that have to be maintained. The Metropolitan is the only east-west route which crosses the city. We don't have a beltway, and some will say, well, we really shouldn't have a beltway because we're an island. The Port of Montreal is on the island, and trucks have to access it. We're never going to get a beltway to the north because we have the 440, the 640, but they don't join the off-island areas, and that's the way it's going to stay. So this, as you say, has been discussed for many, many years. Back in 2019, Chantal Leroux, who was then the Deputy Transport Minister, said that it'll be rebuilt eventually, but pretty much the way it is. And the latest news, it'll be rebuilt eventually, but pretty much the way it is. So I don't think they're going to reduce the lanes at all. They can't. And I believe that the idea of a tunnel is not a bad idea. The best section for an underground section of the Met would be between what we say the 215s, the Laurentian Audit, and the Carry, but they can't do it. They can't do it for simple reason. The Metro runs beneath the Metropolitan, as well as a major energy or gas conduit line. So it's highly unlikely that they would be able to do an underground dig.
So I will mention the group. They're called the Alliance for Innovation in Mobility Infrastructure. And as you said, they've been, I guess, canvassing people now since 2022. One of the reports mentions here, Rick, this is great, the creation of ground infrastructure. Not sure what that means, if that's bearing it or not. But it also mentions, and I'm quoting, the complete abandonment of the highway function. You know, there's just too many cars, Rick, using the Met. Maybe it should be a pedestrian walkway with a bike lane.
The last count was 190,000 vehicles a day. Many of them, at least 13 to 15% of them are trucks, which you will never get rid of. And as I said, this is the only east-west link. It can't become a boulevard because they need the link. So it's highly unlikely that unfortunately or fortunately, depending how you look at it, that any of the suggestions made in this report will come to bear. As well, the service roads, Cremazy, are the City of Montreal territory. So the Metropolitan is provincial, Transport Quebec, Service Road, City of Montreal. And as ugly as that thing is, and it is very ugly, would people want to have all that truck traffic at ground level? And by the way, the other reason they can't do a tunnel, because it's a major east-west route, unfortunately for trucks, you cannot put trucks with hazardous materials
in a tunnel,
right, such as the case of the Ville Marie.
Maybe they could do a tunnel just for cars and have the trucks on the elevated section.
Well, by then there'll be no cars. By the time they do this, there'll be no
flying
cars.
We'll all be
on bikes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
By the way,
when I say by the way, when they do it, because right now they're only looking to do what will carry them through for another 25 years to 2050, when at some point they will redo it to whatever the extent that means.
Now, I'm reading in this report, the first phase that the government is looking at is that 5.2-kilometer stretch between Saint Laurent Boulevard and Provencher. That's right. The one that's going to be prioritized because that's where you get a connection to Highway 25 to go to the La Fontaine Tunnel, right?
Correct, and it's easier to do because, by the way, Provencher is sort of midway between P9 and Viau. The other section, the western section between Saint-Laurent and Côte-de-Liesse, is far more complicated because you've got 3 interchanges in there: Laurentian Autoroute, the Carry, and Côte-de-Liesse.
Yeah. I don't know. I just, when I see a report where one of the suggestions is to basically abandon the highway function of a highway, I kind of think to myself, why did we bother doing this in the first place? So, but then again,
wishful thinking and highly doubtful that it'll ever come to pass.
And by the way, even if they were going to do something first of all, and I've asked the question before, Rick, this area now and parts of them at the elevated part, the part underneath that serves apparently no function at all except for people either dumping stuff there or parking a car there. What, is that not viable for anything?
There's too many. I don't think so, for the very simple reason it's of the support beams, the structure, the infrastructure above is supported by the columns below, and I would really see that as a problem. And there's a lot of intersecting streets there.
True.
A lot of intersecting streets.
So basically, we're stuck with the Met Free, what do you think, the next 25 years?
Yes.
Okay.
You are completely correct.
You're a ray of sunshine, my friend. Okay. Rick Leckner with no solutions for what could happen, should happen to the Met, because there are none, apparently.
Well, there are none. If I have another 20 seconds, I want to put a plug. There's a very important meeting in Côte St. Luc tonight about all this crazy traffic on Vezina, etc. It's at the Carry Square at 7 o'clock. There's presentations, so if people are in the area and want to try and hear how we can get rid of this mess crossing the Carry, 7 o'clock tonight at the Carry Square.
Wait a sec. So this would be the access to the Carry from Vezina, where you have to now go up to get to Jean Talon, I guess? You talking about that?
Exactly.
Now, look, I know we've talked about this before as well. I know that exit well. The city has, it seems to me you could certainly put up another set of lights if you were coming on the Carry on the service road, right, heading north, to stop traffic for a while, so traffic exiting the Carry Expressway could actually have a free pass to get up there and then have a set of lights for them. Is that not a consideration? Is that not even a thought?
There's been so little viable solutions recommended. And, again, you've got the city of Montreal, which doesn't seem to be very amenable to mitigation measures. And then, of course, the province, which controls the expressway. The exits are at the top of the exits or at the end of the exits. It's Montreal. At the bottom of the exits, it's a mess. So they're going to look at possible or discuss some possible solutions of how to at least lower the volumes of traffic coming out of the Carry Square.
Rick, who's they?
Tonight?
No, who's they? Who's this guy? Is this the NDG? Is this the borough looking at this? Who does this?
No, this is Côte St. Luc. Because Côte St. Luc presented its master plan back in November 20th. Oh, I see, okay. And part of it is including the redevelopment of Cavendish Mall, the Carry Square, etc. So this is to be discussed this evening to look at, because the residents are fed up.
I'm sure. So. Yeah, listen, I'll let you go. Just the last question I always ask this, any news on Cavendish?
Of course not.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Mayor?
We're doing Cavendish for sure.
All right. Rick, thank you very much. Apparently, I just wanted to check with her to see if anything changed.
We need to give her a plaque with that inscription on her last day.
What a great idea. We're doing Cavendish for sure. I'll take care of that. Rick Leckner, our CJAD traffic guru. Rick, thank you very much. Have a good one.